And at some point, the sun shining through the clouds and uh, lit up the entire skyline. But since we're facing east, you can see the sunset in the buildings. So it's a pretty interesting concept. And then a few minutes later, the clouds starting to turn pink. I was like, oh my god, it's like perfect time lapse.
Should start. um, so this podcast. If you already been tuning in, it's more about how we share our passion as photographers and creatives. And in this podcast, I have someone very excited to introduce to you. Very different in terms of photography world. So I actually met him or come across his profile in social media and about his course. So I'm excited to go through that. But it's Emeric, and he is a master of time lapse photography. Hey, Emeric, how you doing?
Hey, Stanley, doing great. What about you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I mean, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on board. I mean, I just met you. Well, I just first time I talked to you, I suppose that's what I was trying to say. I just hit you up on
Yeah,
Instagram and you reply, and then you say yes. So I was really
yeah. I think the
excited.
first time we talked was like 5 days ago, right? Or
Yeah.
something like this. And you asked me for the podcast, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's exciting.
No, that's awesome. I mean, like it's I guess that's the cool thing about the social media nowadays. You get to meet new people that in the other side of the world. So that's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, what you been up to? How's 2020 been for you?
It's been pretty hectic, I have to say.
In a good
I
way,
don't
I'm
know if
hoping.
you know. Yeah, I was actually living in Atlanta at the beginning of the year. So my story is kind of crazy, but I'm gonna try to, you know, not talk for too long. So I was living in LA for 7 years. At the end of 2019, I moved to Atlanta, and for a year, 2019, 2020, I was living in Atlanta. I just hated it. I was I was missing LA. I was like, Atlanta is another great time. At the end of 2020, I moved back to LA, and it was another big trip where I had to move all my furniture from coast to coast, drive for 30 hours alone. It was pretty long, but anyway, yeah, I'm back here in LA, and even with the situation right now, I'm pretty happy to be back. Yeah, finally settling
That's
in my new
awesome.
apartment, as you can see.
Yeah, it looks good. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad it's I think it's always good to be able to find your happy place. And
Yeah,
I heard that you got your visa as a time lapse photographer. So congratulations. How is
thank you, I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
so tell us a bit more about your background. Like, you say that you were living in Atlanta and then you kind of moved to Los Angeles, but where are you actually from? And what makes you come to America or to settle in Los Angeles, and what makes Los Angeles so your happy place, basically?
That's a good question. So I'm actually from France. So I was born in France. Je parle français. Yeah, I talk both languages. And so until I was 21, I was living in a medium town called Angers in France. It's like about 2 hours from Paris. And I actually went to college in France too. And shortly after graduating, I always wanted to come to America for some reason, like the American dream, what you see in the movies. It's big. It's like you can make money, so many opportunities, all of this, and I wanted to try. I just wanted to see. I wanted to come here. I didn't know where exactly. At first, I was a big fan of New York, and then LA was kind of the back of my mind as well. So shortly after college, I was sending emails to companies I was finding on Craigslist. I was like, okay, I do video editing. I'm gonna go on Craigslist and try to see if I can find companies offering, internship or maybe small jobs to see if they would agree to work with me. And actually, one company accepted, to work with me. So I worked a little bit for them in France, and they said, okay, you can come here for a few months. So I came to LA, actually near LA, with a J1 visa. So it was a student visa for people who just graduated. So it was for like experience, the professional work in the US. I don't know how experience. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so I started in LA like this, just as an intern in video editing, and then I climbed the ladder. We can say this. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, and year after year, I got like new visa, and like recently, I have an O1 visa, which is a visa for artist people, for people talented in their field. That's how they call it. So it's people in the film industry, photography, even like athletes, all of this. It's pretty wide, but it's people who are pretty good in what they're doing. So I was pretty happy to get my O1 visa for video editing and time-lapse photography this year. They added the time-lapse photographer title in the visa, so I got pretty excited finally. So yeah, I was living in LA. I moved from France to Los Angeles in 2013. I lived in LA for 7 years until 2019, which is six and a half years. And I was kind of tired of LA. So last year I moved to Atlanta on the East Coast. And I was actually, so sorry, I talk a lot. I was supposed to move to New York. So I drove between LA and New York. I didn't want to move to New York, so I moved to Atlanta because Atlanta was cheaper. I could keep my car, and I wanted to try it. It's kind of centralized. There's Miami, Chicago, not too far. So I tried Atlanta for a year, just didn't like it. Decided to come back because I feel comfortable in LA. I feel like I have a bigger network. I have people around. The weather is nice. I know the city really well. I'm someone with kind of love anxiety sometimes. So if I feel comfortable in a city, I feel like it's gonna help a lot,
Yeah, for
which I
sure.
could not find in Atlanta at all. I was every time I was going out, and especially because you have like expensive gear, so I need to know the area. I need to feel comfortable in a place where I'm shooting, or it's just not going to work.
Well, you could argue LA is not the safest as well.
I know the area to avoid. I
Okay,
know the
okay.
areas not to go. That's why I shoot a lot from Griffith Park, Santa Monica, some area in downtown where you're fine. And there's also most people. I know more people in LA, photographers, ready to go shoot with me. So
Yeah, it's I actually used to live in LA back
oh
when.
really?
Yeah, I live in Koreatown, and I went to Mark Twain Middle School right in Venice Beach.
Nice.
I used to skip school all the time to skate in Venice Beach. I love that place. But kids,
Yeah.
if you watch this or hear this, stay in school, all right? Um, yeah, I love LA. Actually, I've been meaning to come back. I was gonna come back this year. I was gonna go storm chasing in the Storm Alley or parking lot
Nice.
or something like that. And then yeah, I was gonna make it East Coast, but then this kind of
Oh, the
hit.
Tornado Valley. Yeah, that's
Tornado,
definitely my
yeah, there you go. Tornado
that's
Alley.
my bucket list. That's definitely my bucket list.
Man, it's amazing there. Cool. Like yeah, thanks for sharing that. For those listener who kind of like don't know what time lapse photography is, do you want to like? Well, I guess time lapse and hyperlapse because there's two kind of like intertwined there. Do you want to like tell us a little bit more about what it is?
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty. I'm always having a hard time answering this question, but a time lapse. So the hyperlapse is a time lapse that moves in space. So that's pretty simple. A time lapse is a time lapse. A hyperlapse is a time lapse that moves. So a time lapse is it's a sequence of images that you're going to take with a specific interval, and then when you put all these images to a regular, you know, format, video format, like 24, 30 frames per second, is going to make your scene look like everything is going faster than real time. So this time lapse is, yeah. How do you explain that? It's like you take a 2 hour video, and if you speed up this video to 5 minutes, for example, everything's going to look faster. But to create better time lapse, cheaper price, better quality, we take a sequence of images with a specific interval, and then we have like programs to like kind of create the video from the image sequence. And yeah, I think it's amazing to see a day to night transition in like 20 seconds, the clouds floating above a city skyline or landscape or changing light, traffic. There's so many awesome subject for time lapse photography, which make it very exciting. It's very different than still photography because you need to think how is how's your scene gonna look like in 10, 20 minutes or maybe 2 hours? Is it worth shooting a time lapse of this? Do you have like constant motion? Is everything moving? Is it a good subject for time lapse photography?
So
Yeah, and a
is that
hyperlapse
sorry, yeah, keep going.
and a hyperlapse is a time lapse, but between every time you take a picture, you're gonna move the tripod a little bit, the camera a little bit, and it's gonna create like a kind of a 3D perspective around your subject. It's pretty
Wow.
exciting.
So do you actually do hyperlapse manually by moving your tripod?
So yeah, you have different way of doing hyperlapse videos. You can do handheld, but you're limited, with your shutter speed. I always use a tripod. Yeah, so I do a tripod. I take a picture. I move the tripod maybe a foot or so, and then you aim the camera at your anchor point. You have to select an anchor point, or the perspective is going to change if you move the camera. So if you use the guideline on your camera, you select an anchor point, and it's pretty easy. And you still have to stabilize the clip after, but having the anchor point is very important to like get something that looks real.
That's crazy. Yeah, because like I know that more people nowadays start doing hyperlapse using the gimbal and kind of just use a motion, time lapse on, like you say, a faster shutter speed. So, but to do it, I know like I've seen kind of tutorials on how to do that. Man, it looks like it's a lot of effort to do that.
It is time consuming for sure. Yeah, it takes a long time, especially if you do a tripod where you really have to move the tripod every time. So obviously your interval is going to be longer than a regular time lapse because you need the time. But the effect you get at the end is amazing.
Yeah.
I should force myself to shoot more hyperlapse videos because it's really cool.
That's really cool. This might be just what I need to push me to start doing hyperlapse, but so far I haven't had the patience to do it. But is that you kind of touch base a little bit on that, but tell us a little bit why time lapse photography? Why not just still photography? What makes you kind of jump into that sort of genre?
I, the funny thing is, I started photography by shooting time lapse.
Oh,
Like
right.
I've never ever shot still photography for fun. I really went straight from like doing some fun videos with my family and friends to time lapse photography. Like I didn't do really still photography, and I'm thinking I'm pretty bad at still photography. Um, yeah, I do sometimes do still photography for fun, but yeah, I went straight to time lapse, and I don't know. There's something very special about time lapse photography. It's mixing, first of all, photography and video making. There's no other art form that mixes both video and photography, which is pretty exciting because you get a video from photos, from pictures. So I really love the aspect of mixing two different art forms into one, and I get super excited every time I come back home and watch the products, watch the time lapse live for the first time on Eller time lapse. Yeah, I think it's exciting and it's traveling to new places and staring at amazing views for hours. I've actually shot time lapses with still photographers, and obviously, still photographers don't like staying at one place for 4 hours. They're like they take their pictures and like, okay, I'm gone, I'm done. Let's go to the next locations. I'm like, dude, I have only one time lapse. Like, I can't leave right now.
I got half a second.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very different world than still photography. And yeah, I'm getting it's exciting. I think it's like seeing the world turn in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that really makes me excited about time lapse is just that transformation from one to another, seeing things moving. And I suppose, like, people can argue, oh, why not just take video, right? But video is very difficult to do, to see that transformation in such a long period, so that you don't actually see that much transformation. So I really love that. Especially day to night. That's something that I really been wanting to do. I kind of try a little bit on that, but I want to do like a proper day to night. What I've done is kind of just like from 2 hours, nothing, and it's quite incredible to see. And look, I know how much commitment it takes to do this. To make this short footage, I suppose, right? How long does you usually stay out there to shoot your time lapse, like at a time?
Usually, so what I've been doing a lot recently is, like you just said, I'm a big Day to Night fan. So, like, at a point where maybe like a few months back, I had to to force myself to shoot something else than Day to Night. So like, okay, I should always Day to Night because it's exciting, it's challenging, and yeah, like you say, seeing the transition from Day to Night is exciting. So now when I go shoot my time lapses, I usually go a couple hours before sunset. I shoot a few time lapses during the day, couple day to nights, a few night shots, and if I feel like it, I go to different spots. But usually, I don't like going to different spots, so I just go home. So yeah, usually average is like 3 to 4 hours on location. Um, Unless I'm traveling, sometimes it can go way more than this because I have a limited time in the city, so I need to get the most out of it in a few days only so I can stay out for like 7 hours and go different places, different location in the city. It's pretty exhausting, yeah. But it's exciting, yeah. It's exciting.
That's insane. Like 4.5 hours at a time staying at one place. So what do you do when you're waiting?
So I shoot my day to night manually, so I have to keep an eye on my camera all the time, so it kind of
Wow.
keeps me busy. I know a lot of people start shooting AV mode day to night because it's getting better, but I'm the manual guy. I like shooting my stuff manually all the time. Otherwise, I just do Instagram. I shoot my vlog. I try to find a class, a free YouTube tutorial to shoot. I just look at the view. Seriously, sometimes that's just what I'm doing. And
Yeah,
every time I regret not bringing a chair with me. I don't have a chair. I need to buy a chair. But every time I forget to buy a chair. So I'm like standing for like 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes it's pretty exhausting, but I don't know. I have the passion around time lapse photography that has been going for like almost 10 years now, and it's not
yeah.
fading away. So that's pretty exciting.
So what what push you, like every time, like you say, you get to a location, you're looking at this beautiful scenery, you don't have a chair, you have to stand up, you set your camera for a time lapse, and you start shooting everything else, vlogging, whatever, you enjoy the scenery, and then I'm sure after a while you're like, okay, I think I had enough of this kind of like scenery, after you spend half an hour on that. What pushed you to go like the extra hour, or the extra whatever time it takes for you to stay there to get that footage?
Um, Sometimes I tell myself like I'm here, so just let's just shoot it. Like it would be pointless to just come back later. I'm here. Let's do it. I think I just don't want to. I don't like wasting my time. So I feel like, and also I make money from the time lapse. I'm like, okay, that's a good time lapse. If I feel like it's worth it, I'm gonna force myself to stay a little longer, and then just do it. Even if it's outside my comfort zone, even if I'm tired, it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm on location. My camera's set up. Let's just shoot it, or I'm gonna regret it. I'd rather get a little more tired, but not regret it later.
Yeah, yeah, I do get that. I do get that as well. Like I really hate it when I go to a place and I realize, I should have brought that particular lens. It's a
Yeah,
slightly different context there. I know exactly what you mean in terms of rather have that extra effort and not regret it later. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
do you have like a specific like song or like snack that you would bring, or like to your time lapse outing,
Not even beside water. Actually, I never bring anything with me for some reason. If I feel tired, I'm gonna get like like energy drink, but
uh,
for some reason I don't like eating on the when I'm shooting. So I just beside water, I don't really have anything with me.
That's that's crazy. I remember this one time I was doing like time lapse. I was gonna shoot the sunset, and then because the cloud was like all interesting, and then the cloud was just gone. I was like, well, that's perfect. And then I was like, you know what? The Milky Way gonna rise there. I think it's gonna be a good like day to night time lapse. So I I brought out like a stove and like I was cooking instant noodles and everything because I just got bored.
That's the
That's
best.
that's crazy. Like that's yeah, that's amazing to see that that much dedication. I suppose to shoot
What I
that.
like to do is like you were talking about like food or whatever. Is something I really like is booking like hotels with like crazy views. So you can set up the camera by the window and do whatever you want. You can have a couple beers. You can go out at a restaurant for to eat. You don't care because the camera are protected. They're safe. So that's why I like to do a lot when I go to a new city, trying to find a hotel with a crazy view. I've been doing this in San Francisco and Chicago, not New York yet, but I love shooting from hotels because you can relax.
Yeah,
You just set
yeah,
up your camera, watch TV, enjoy a few beers, go for food, and then the time lapse is doing its. The camera is doing its job. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely good tips there. Um,
yeah.
what sort of what sort of gear that do you usually shoot time lapse with? Do you like bring like sliders and all that as well, or mainly just a tripod and your camera?
So 90% of the time I shoot just with a regular tripod. I do have all the gear for slider, pan and tilt system, but 90% of the time it's just my cameras and a couple tripods. I have two cameras because sometimes, there's a beautiful sunset, you want to shoot part, different like time lapses. So I have two cameras, sometimes two tripods. Unless I'm hiking, I just take one camera. And yeah, I have sliders. I have a drone as well to do some like hyperlapse from the sky, which is pretty amazing what you can do. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But I do have sliders. I have actually I'm SERP. Do you know SERP, the brand?
No, I'm not really that familiar.
SYRP SERP. They do like filmmaking and time lapse sliders, pen and tilt system. So I'm a brand ambassador. They're actually from New
Oh,
Zealand.
cool.
It's a new company based in New Zealand, and so I'm a brand ambassador. They send me some gear, and I have to work with it, do some review videos. So once in a while, I do shoot with sliders. It's it takes a while to set up. I think that's why I don't like it so much. But you definitely get like a very nice, you know, one, two, or three axis time lapse at the end. So it's pretty exciting, but it takes time to set up. So
Yeah, because like I mean, I could imagine if you have two cameras, that means two tripods,
yeah,
and then
at
you're gonna
least
have a
two or
slider.
three lenses,
Exactly.
2.5 millimeters, bunch of battery. It's a lot of gear.
Like you're gonna need a second, like a third and a fourth hand to carry all that gear, right?
Actually, I'm pretty lucky because I have a roller bag. Um, it's
Oh, okay.
it's like the maximum carry-on size you can have on a plane, so it's pretty big, and you can attach a tripod on the side, so I can just pull the bag with the tripod, and then I carry another tripod on my left hand. So yeah, uh, it gets complicated when I have to bring sliders actually or other stuff because I'm like I have the roller bag, I have another tripod. Okay, sometimes I also have a backpack with more stuff. It's a lot of gear, but yeah, I'd rather have the gear on location and not use it than kind of
Yeah, it goes back to that notion, right? Rather
yeah,
go
yeah,
to that
exactly.
extra effort than to regret it.
Yep, yep.
So I actually saw your your post the other day on YouTube about that progression.
Oh yeah,
From when you started as a time lapse
it's a very
photographer
fun
to where you
video.
are. You want to just like share with the listeners out there, and I'll probably put that link on the description anyway. But share us a little bit about how do you progress, and what was it like to start time lapse photography, because I think for many people, especially like I mean, I know it was for myself as well. It was a little bit out of reach when I start thinking about it. It's like, man, I cannot do that. It's like I have to wait there for like 3 hours, and like it's like thinking what it's like how do you do this, like so take us through a little bit of that, like how you begin all this in terms of yeah, just making a start and then to where you are right now.
It's an excellent question, actually. Yeah, when I was actually doing this video and looking at my old time lapses, I was trying to figure out how I started, where I started, and you're gonna laugh, but I started shooting time lapse video, like photography. But even back in 2013, I wasn't even sure what my aperture was doing. How, like, I didn't know it was really changing the depth of field. It's just I wasn't really good at photography, but I was still shooting. I was going out there in 2013, sorry, and I didn't know how to control my camera settings. So sometimes I was shooting either in AV or even auto mod was my first time lapse in LA, so it's horrible. But I didn't know how to select the perfect interval. I wasn't really aware of my environments, so I was just shooting the time lapse. For example, in the video, you can see the time lapse of the Hollywood sign, and that's it. There's a couple of trees moving in the foreground, but there is nothing moving. So I was shooting time lapse to shoot time lapse, but I learned a lot from those shitty clips. Sorry for my language, but I did learn a lot from those clips, um, because I knew what I was doing wrong. Like, okay, I'm looking at the clip when I go back to my apartment or house, and yes, that's a boring time lapse. So I need to find a better subject. And then sometimes, okay, maybe my aperture is too open here or it's too close. So next time I go, I'm going to use a slightly different aperture. Okay, the interval right now it's too long. So next time I go outside, I'm going to maybe select a faster interval. So I need to select a better shutter speed. It's an entire process. Like every time you go out, you experience something, you fail, but the next time you go outside and shoot again, where you learn from the previous session, so you can create a better content. And it's really what you see in the video I just posted, like 7 years of time lapse evolution. You can really see every single year I was pretty much focusing on a new problem. Almost like 2013, 2014 is kind of the same, but you can see the white balance is off a little bit. 2015, the white balance is getting a little better. I started shooting raw files. Yes, I was shooting JPEG at the beginning. It's terrible. It's terrible. Once you discover, the power of raw files, it's amazing. But then, yeah, white balance 2016, I was maybe shooting more interval, better composition, better subjects. 2017, I was challenging myself, shooting hyperlapse videos. And then now 2018 until now, it's mostly about, yeah, challenging myself, finding new location, chasing awesome sunrise and sunsets. Because once you know how to do something and you keep doing the same thing, you kind of get bored at some point. Like you need to challenge yourself, you need to try new things. And that's what I'm trying to do with my YouTube channel. I have like a series of challenge videos that's going to come up soon where I'm trying to challenge myself, do new things that I'm not so comfortable with, but learn from those things. And doing those YouTube videos to kind of share my experience with my followers as well.
That's really cool. I was just laughing because I remember one of the video you're looking at it and it's like I don't know what I was thinking back there. It's like
Yeah, there's some like white balance at night. It looks super yellow. I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
it's really funny because I had that moment all the time. It's like like I know I wasn't, like I was just starting photography, but like surely, like I wouldn't have think this is great. So like that's just it's good, I guess. For especially listeners who kind of just get started or want to get started. That we all been there. We're not this superhero that social media make us look like. Like we didn't wake up yesterday and start picking up a camera and then
Of
capture all.
course not. Yeah.
So that's yeah, it's really cool to actually see that transformation, and it's really um it's really good to see the patient and the passion you have to focus on one problem at a time. I think there is a lot of I think a lot of us have problem with that. I know, like for me, I'm really impatient, so I want to get there really quickly, and for that reason, I usually rush into all these different things, and I become a jack all of all trades and an expert at none. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think the focusing on one problem at a time wasn't really something I decided to do. It's just it happened. Like I was showing my time lapse and I'm like, oh, I realized there's a problem here, so I'm going to work to fix it. When I know how to manage this problem, what I discover a new one until until 2018, where now I'm like cleaning my time lapses like crazy. And yeah, when I look back to the 2013, 2015 time lapses, I see all those problems that I didn't see at the time. But yeah, focusing on one thing at a time, yeah, it's not something that I was doing on purpose. It was really just it just happened one thing at a time. But as you can see, it took like several years.
I guess you're a much wiser person than most of us. You know it right where you start. So like, all right, so this is one thing I really want to hear from you because okay, as a photographer, right, I could go out into one place and I could within the hour or half an hour or whatever time I'm there, I could look at it, have a feedback, and I could correct it right away. As a time lapse photographer, you don't have that. So how does this learning progression works for you? And you know what kind of works that you find in this experience? What kind of works and what kind of doesn't work to you know get better um quickly at time lapse photography?
That's a good question. I think analyzing your environment to see a city or a landscape you're shooting as a time lapse photographer is going to make the difference. So you need to yeah, I'd like to say analyze your environment. So see what's moving. You're shooting a time lapse. You're not shooting one picture. So you need to find stuff that are moving in your environment. So most of the time it's clouds. If you're in the city, it's cars, people, light change. Like yeah, analyze your environment. I think that's gonna make that you can see it in my video, like the turn point. Is that how you said? Sorry. Um, the point where my time lapse is starting to get better is when I really started focusing on what I was capturing. So beautiful sunrise, beautiful sunset, constant motion, and I actually found like my favorite time lapses of them all. They have like three different components. Is that how you say it? Sorry, my English is not 100% perfect.
Yeah, components. Yeah,
But it's like
right.
when you have the city skyline mixed with some clouds and the fast moving elements in the foreground is usually like the best recipe for a good time lapse because you have the city skyline as your subject, you have the clouds floating in the sky, and you have really fast moving elements like cars or boats moving in the foreground. And when I realized that you can mix different subjects together, like a city skyline with a sunset, a sunrise with cars, or something like this. It's usually what's going to make a good time lapse. So I think if people like who are listening right now just want to start shooting time lapse, yeah, it's start thinking time lapse. Like it's you're not shooting one frame. It's not you're not shooting the time frozen. You're not frozen in time. That's what I want to say. So you're shooting a period of time, 5 minutes to 2 hours, maybe more. So you need to think about all of this. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. I think what you're trying to say there, basically think about things that moving, right? Because the time lapse
Yeah,
is the transformation there. So
yeah,
yeah, so you say about like the foreground having a moving foreground, changing lights in the mid ground, and having clouds that move on the background makes yeah that cool time lapse. Is a I remember when I was first started, I took a photo of this. It was actually a really nice sunset, but it was like you say, there was like it was the mountain, and then you got like the sun, the sky kind of changing color, but there was no cloud. And sure, it was kind of nice to see the changing color, but it takes a while, and then just go like, hmm,
like
and
there's something missing, right? It's like you feel
exactly,
like you could do better.
yeah, totally. So that was like when you said that, I was like. Yeah, I remember that time when I take that video, and that really explain why that I feel like there's something missing, like you say. Um, yeah, so that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, and I
Yeah,
think yeah, exactly right what you say. If there's nothing moving in your scene, then there's no point making a time lapse because at the moment it's just a multiple of same thing, right?
exactly. And that's actually what I'm actually writing a free class right now, and I was talking about this issue where I told people it's not because you can shoot a time lapse that you should don't shoot a time lapse because you can shoot a time lapse because you should. And I think it makes a difference. Like, yeah, I can go shoot a time lapse every day here in LA, but I'm not going because first of all, I'm lazy kind of sometimes, but I'm saying it's not worth it to go every day. There's no reason for me to go out every day. I need to pick up when there's no smog, when there's some clouds, because it makes always the difference. So yeah, don't shoot a time lapse because you can. Yes, you have the gear or the time, but go when it's worth it. I think
Yeah,
it's
so
what
that's
makes the difference. It's what makes the difference between a time lapse and a like good, beautiful time lapse.
mhm, yeah, for sure.
The message behind time lapse, you know.
Yeah, I think as photographers, whatever photographers we are, we have this tendency of like looking at one like a scenery and just like, oh yeah, that's beautiful, and we didn't think about it and just try to snap it, and then obviously it doesn't work because our eyes and our camera are two different, looking at two different things, right?
Yeah.
So that's I think that's great to that you mentioned that for the viewer out there, that to think about what you're shooting and analyze that bit. So how is that how do you learn like you actually um I guess what I'm trying to say is you shoot a time lapse, right? You invest like 2 3 hours whatever, and then after that you got your video, sorry, your photo, you put it into a video, and then you kind of realize where it's missing, and then the next time you have to try to fix that, right? So is there like how do you do that? Is it just pretty much just a long-winded like process that you have to do? Like you just have to shoot, like hope for the best, and then review it, and then kind of just try to fix it the next time, or is there a better way of kind of analyzing what might have gone wrong during the shoot itself?
I'm trying to understand your question.
So
Like,
I guess what I'm trying to say is that when we shoot still photography, we know if we shoot the wrong way, if it's the wrong settings or whatnot,
uh,
right? While as in a time lapse photography, you don't know your final product until you go home and put it all together, right?
okay,
So is
yeah,
there a way? Is there any like a way that you can recognize that you're just like, oh no, like I shouldn't done that, or I should have done this, where it you don't have to kind of wait until you go home and put it all together to know that you did wrong.
yeah. I
Or
think that's something you develop with time. Like, I think it makes a big difference to really think, like, imagine how the future is going to be. Like, the future is like what 10 minutes. Like, you really need to think about how it's going to look like. I think a time lapse photographer has to. Obviously, sometimes you can't control the weather, so you don't know how it's going to end. You know, you don't know what to expect. But there is like different apps and different, and I think knowledge and experience is making you better and better at thinking what's going to happen. So you is that your question? Am I answering your
yeah, yeah,
question?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
It's a
good.
very
Yeah,
interesting question, but I'm trying to make sure it's clear for people listening. But yeah, I think that's the experience. Like, I think 80% of the time, an hour before sunset, I can predict how it's going to happen, what's going to happen, because I've seen so many different clouds, so many different sunset that, yeah, I know what's going to happen. So I know if it's worth going out shooting the next time, Obviously, I'm not 100% right all the time, but,
you
you know,
don't go out there, you don't get it right. So sometimes you
exactly.
have to go out there.
That's my motto. I have a motto that says in French, "Qui ne tente rien n'a rien," which means if you don't try anything, you won't get anything.
Yeah, that's
So
very true. Like,
you have to try, and yeah, sometimes it fails. So many times, I'm like, I came back with like very bad footage. It's like you can't control the weather, so the best you can do is just show up, expect for the best. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you expected something bad and something amazing happened. Like it can go both ways, you know?
Yeah, that is very true. Like, there's a lot of times where that kind of happens. I actually like some of my favorite shots are like that. It's like I'm expecting. It's like, oh, it's nothing. It's like, oh, whoa, what's that?
I think
There's
you need to learn to wait in time lapse photography. You need to learn to wait. That's what's going to make the difference. Especially if you're shooting sunset. Like sometimes you're shooting a sunset and like, okay, sunset was like 10, 15 minutes ago. And yeah, the clouds, the sky looks boring. And then bam, 1 minute later, it's like sky fire, super red and pink. And like, oh my God. Good thing I stayed a little bit longer, you know?
Yeah, that's I actually learned that the hard way. There's so many times I go like, oh yeah, it's gone. It's like pack everything and drive home. It's like, oh no.
And you feel so bad, like you're super angry, but yeah, learn to wait. Even in photography, like regular photography.
Yeah, totally. That's yeah, that's cool. So yeah, that's I mean, thanks a lot for sharing that. I think that's it's really important for many of us to kind of have that passion, patience. Man, it's really hard to define
Patience
patience. Yeah,
and passion, yeah.
yeah, that patience to just wait a little bit longer, and don't go for that final product all the time. But yeah, that's amazing. What are share with us some of your favorite time lapse moment, or maybe your time lapse, it can be experience or photo, time lapse photo altogether.
Excellent question. I'm trying to remember like which one comes to my mind first. The most recent one was I was in New York. It was July 2019, so before all the COVID thing. But I was meeting a few friends in New Jersey. You know, we have a skyline view on New York, and then there were a few clouds in the sky, but nothing really like super exciting. But it was my last day in New York, so we met up there. We started shooting time lapses, and at some point, the sun shining through the clouds and uh, lit up the entire skyline. But since we're facing east, you can see the sunset in the buildings, so it's a pretty interesting concept. And then a few minutes later, the clouds starting to turn pink. I was like, oh my god, it's like perfect time lapse. And then you had like a lot of boat traffic on the Hudson River, and then maybe 20 minutes later, almost full moon rising in my shot. I was like, oh my like everything came together in one single time lapse, and it got me super excited. And I was like, oh my god, I had to share it with my Instagram follower because every time everything comes together, it gets me super pumped up and I'm excited. And like, this is why I'm shooting time lapse. This is why I have some bad days. This is why sometimes I fail. It's because I want this type of shoot to happen. And there's this one, I think there was another one. Obviously, yeah. I don't know if you've seen the Sky Space, not Sky Space, SpaceX. Sorry, the SpaceX time lapse of the Falcon 9 rocket launch above downtown LA. Like this one was super exciting. I didn't know what to expect. I just knew it's a rocket, so it's gonna go fast. It's going up, so I need to get some room in the sky. So this is what I did. I shot with a 1 second interval and super wide, um, and then he came out like super awesome. And when you see a rocket launch in front of you, it's like super freaking exciting.
Was that the one that looked like there was an explosion in the sky?
Yep,
Oh
yeah,
man,
that's the
I
one.
I saw that. I was like, whoa, and yeah, that was insane actually. I haven't seen the moon one yet. I really need to get a link on that one because I want to
Yeah, I
see
can
that.
send. I don't know if it's definitely on Instagram. I don't. I might have a version on YouTube. I've been wanting to do a YouTube kind of time lapse mix of New York. But yeah, I think there was. Hold on. I think there was. I feel like I'm missing one. Yeah, I mean, there was like a private property in LA. I got special access to shoot from up there, and the view was amazing. The sunset was crazy. It's like you feel excited when you are at the right place at the right time. Okay, maybe it happens 5% of the time, but when it happens, it's just super exciting, and it gives you so much energy to for the 95% of the time where you won't be at the right place. So yeah, that's why I keep doing this to kind of chase amazing moment like this in time.
It, yeah, that's very inspiring actually. It's very very true the way you say that. Sometimes like um out of all that 95%, only five of them come true. But that 5% is like enough to just make
It's
me want
just
to go for more, right?
it's so good. It's like I don't know, it gives you so much energy for, the 95% that is not so good. I mean, it's still good, but it's anyway, you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
like crazy, yeah.
It's really hard to explain it, isn't it?
It's
Like
hard because it's
like
something you need to live yourself. You need to experience it to understand. Yeah.
yeah, that's totally totally. Um, do you have like so like you just share some of like your really proud moments, I suppose, one you're most proud of that 5%. But share us a little bit more about that 95%. Like, what is your struggle as a time lapse photographer and to get to where you are right now, especially.
So there's the most I think it's like learning how to read the weather. Like sometimes um the 95 it's how do you say this? It's a good question again. You're really good at this. You're really good at this. But it gets me like thinking about how I do things, which sometimes I don't actually. I just do things, but I don't know the psychology behind it.
I
But
know, I know. I think I realized that as well when I started to like teach. Is that it's like I don't know how to explain that. So like you kind of have to put
it's
that,
hard. It's like putting words on stuff you do physically, like actions.
uh,
Uh, but yeah, sometimes when I fail, it's just yeah, it's an expected sunset, for example, like a weather that like a sunset that didn't end the way you wanted, so you kind of disappointing, or you're not at the right place at the right time, or you facing the wrong way. Like for example, it was the full moon maybe a month ago or so. So I went to a spot in LA facing kind of east with downtown LA, but it was so smoggy that we can and actually a little bit of cloud as well. Like I couldn't see the moon at all. I saw the moon for like 2 minutes and it was gone. But if at sunset, if I just turn 180 degrees behind me facing west, the sunset was crazy. So I was like, oh my god, I should have gone to a different place facing west. But yeah, it's like you kind of get mad at yourself in a way because you didn't go to the right location on time. It's like it's hard to expect what's going to happen. I talk a lot about sunset because that's what I shoot the most, but that's why I have more experience with. Yeah, it's just kind of getting mad at yourself for not being in the right place. I feel like that's why I'm struggling a lot, and also trying to find new locations, new angles of the city is kind of tough. In safe areas, especially in LA. So I often go back to like the same spots, and but I'm trying to get different weather conditions, stuff like this. Yeah, trying to be original. It's kind of tough after like 7 years in the same area.
It's actually one of the reason why I got a second camera. Because there was so many times where I was like, I want to shoot time lapse, and then 15 minutes through that, and I was like, oh no, it's like I want to shoot this still frame as well, but I don't want to break the time lapse. Like, what
Yep,
do I do? I
yep,
I hate myself for that, and I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm getting a second camera. That's that's great. Thanks for sharing that. I think that
yeah,
there is a lot of our struggle as photographer, especially when we expect one thing facing another, and then the other the good things happen on the other side.
yep. One day I was shooting with one camera. I think. Oh, are you here? There you
Yeah,
go.
good.
One camera, and I didn't expect the sunset to be crazy, so I kind of zoomed in on my time lapse 100 mils. So downtown LA is like kind of close up shot of downtown LA, and obviously the sunset got super crazy, and the clouds were super pink and red, and I got super mad at myself because it was happening in front of me, but I couldn't really change anything. I didn't want to stop the day to night time lapse. I wanted to shoot the full transition. So yeah, you got kind of mad at yourself again for taking a bad decision. The wrong focal length that time instead of the location. The location was good, but the wrong focal length.
Yeah, that's it's always a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like as as a time lapse photographer who's been doing this for 7 years, you say,
So I
right?
have 7 years professionally, but I
Professionally,
started like for fun back in 2011. So 9 years. Yeah.
9 years in, yeah. So how, like you say, it's really hard to come up with something new, right? It's something that's interesting or fresh. How do you how do you basically fight this uphill battle to come up with something new for yourself? I guess not only for yourself but also for your audience, right? Because if it's always the same thing, then it become less interesting. So how do you create that new, engaging, unique content? You know, after 10 years.
Good question. Yeah. I try to inspire myself from other people a little bit, try to see what they do. Not so much because I don't like copying other people's work. I like to find my own stuff, obviously, but it's great to see what other time lapse photographers do to kind of inspire yourself. And I'm someone who really overthink a lot. I think a lot. My brain is always like do. So sometimes I can be, I don't know, brushing my teeth and bam, I have an idea. So I always have a document open on my computer. It's like, oh, that's gonna be a great idea. Like it's very new, original. So I write it down. And then later on I go there, try to shoot it and do it. But yeah, I'm trying to challenge myself a little more, trying to, even if I don't know how to do that thing, I'm gonna try go out and do it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna succeed. I think that's why I don't like it, because I don't like failures. I don't like doing bad work. I don't like to waste my time. So every time I go up, it has to be perfect. I have to come back with a great time lapse, or I'm gonna be angry. I'm gonna be mad at myself. But I realized that it can get boring at some point because you always go for the safe game in a way. Like you always, it's not fun. So if you challenge yourself, okay, you might fail at the beginning, but then you're going to learn from this. It's exactly what I've been doing for the past 7 years. I'm just, for some reason, I don't want to get out of my comfort zone lately. I'm pretty lazy or something, but I've been out of my comfort zone since 2013 in LA, and that's why I'm here today. So I need to find again what's going to take me out of my comfort zone to, keep growing in a way, because I don't want to stay where I am. I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to stay. Yeah, I'm a good level. I'm good at what I'm doing, but I need to challenge myself more to be more yeah, to be more happy, I guess, with the content I create, to be more fulfilled, I guess. That would be
Awesome.
the word for it. The word, sorry, the word.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
that's good. Thanks for that. I think that's it's really inspiring to hear. Especially how you say that you're a perfectionist and you don't like failures, but you by doing that you stay in that safe zone. So
yeah,
and you know what the saying says, there's nothing's gonna happen. There's nothing exciting in your inside your comfort zone. All this
exactly.
exciting
That's what
stuff outside
I've
your.
been trying to do. Like, okay, when I'm shooting a YouTube video, for example, and oh, I did something wrong, it's fine. I'm still gonna share it with my YouTube. And okay, I did this wrong. I learned from it. I fixed it. Now I'm moving on. And I used to, maybe the past couple of years, to be really okay. It has to be perfect with my YouTube videos, with my time lapse videos, and obviously my time lapse, since it's the final product. I really want it to be perfect, but it's still like, if I fail one day, it's fine. I can still share the experience. And I'm a teacher, so I think it's the teaching part that makes me okay. Now, the teacher, I have to be perfect, and it's kind of like the bad side of being a teacher, because you put yourself some limits, not limits. You put yourself into a mood where you have to constantly be perfect, better than your students with stuff like this. But no, it's fine if it's not always perfect. You have to. you learn. We're still all human beings, and
Yeah, so
it's
true.
all cliche, but that's true at the end of the day.
That is very true. It's funny because it's a cliche, but we often forget it. So it's
Exactly. Yeah.
good that you mentioned that, and I think especially as an educator like yourself, I I follow your journey, and I appreciate those failures personally. It makes me like it's like okay, so I'm kind of right here on like Emeric's kind of journey, and I know how to kind of I know where to go. Like it gives me kind of an inspiration and a goal to aim for, I suppose. And um, as someone who started, I think that's one thing that could be difficult. Just relating back to myself is that okay, like what's next? Like because we don't know any better, right? We only know what we know. So seeing that, like I think that episode that you share between the 8 years, it was like really cool because like I got to see it's like okay, it's like so I kind of know where I am now, and then I kind of know where to fix that. So that's great. Yeah. Um, cool. Like yeah, like that's awesome. Very inspiring. We're coming out to the end of it, so I don't want to keep you any longer.
Oh,
But
it's
I
all
got
good.
a couple more questions for you, if you
Sure.
don't mind.
Yeah.
The first one is I love your time lapse of that New York and the Milky Way. I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Uh,
I'm a
well,
Milky Way lover, so I want to hear that a little bit.
it's this time lapse is kind of like the kind of like I just said earlier, where I was doing something super random and boom, I got this idea. So I had to go on my computer and do it, and it turned out super well. So yeah, it's a time lapse of the Milky Way. It was the Flatiron Building in New York. It's obviously two different time lapses. You cannot see the Milky Way like this in New York. In the center of Manhattan, you cannot see the Milky Way. But when I do like a composite like this, like a fake blending with two different time lapse, I want to be as real as possible. Like sometimes I added the moon, but people they're gonna add like a super giant moon on their photo and it looks fake. I'm gonna be the one who's gonna like maybe make it a little bigger, but I'm gonna make it blurrier. I'm gonna try to make the same color. Maybe I'm gonna remove a little bit. I don't know. I'm always trying to imagine how real it could be. So when I imagine how to see the Milky Way in New York, um, I didn't want to have the same exact same Milky Way that the middle of the desert, because in the middle of the desert, there's not a lot of light pollution, so you're gonna see a lot of contrast in the sky. So I put my Milky Way, but I also put some, light pollution back on top of it to kind of make it a little more real in a way. It's not real, obviously, but I'm trying to find to be as close as possible from the reality if it was possible to see it.
I think that's why it was. I think that's why it's so cool because like you're right. Like when I saw it, I was like, wow, like that looks so real. That's insane. Like what actually inspired you to do that?
No idea. I think it was
That's
the the
awesome.
on- the only reason is like I was trying to find like a time lapse to share on Instagram, and I saw this one of the Flatiron Building that I've never shot, but the sky was completely dark. It was okay. It's black. It's pitch black in New York. There's no clouds. It's like super easy. So I was like, maybe I should add something in it. It's nighttime, so I could add the Milky Way. And so I put it on After Effects. I started like doing the masking around the building, and I don't know if you look on the left, you can see a building with like balconies,
Yeah.
and I had to, mask all around every single balcony to make it even nicer. And it took me like 2 hours just to do this, tiny part of the time lapse. But yeah, like I said, I'm a perfectionist. So even if I'm gonna fake something, I really want it to be as close as possible from the reality.
Oh, it was really nicely planned. I must say, like I don't do much composite as well, like you do. But like sometimes I like to do it, and yeah, it's fun to like to
It's
think
very
of.
fun.
Yeah, because like you get
It's
to kind of
challenging
like
myself.
you get to get out of your reality for a little bit, right? Just like imagine what actually possible. And I think that's one thing that I really like about composite is that hey, like yeah, it's sure it's not real, but like just imagine this,
It
just
could be. It could be.
yeah, it's like just turn off the light, please, for 3 hours, New
If
York.
if you look at my latest post on Instagram, it's a sunset above downtown LA, and same. It's actually kind of I added the clouds. So I wanted to share this time lapse, but it's LA sky, so there's no clouds. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to find a time lapse I shot in the past, and I'm gonna add the sky in it. So I found a sunrise. So I had to flip the time lapse so the sun would be on the right side. It's also a sunrise, so it's going from night to day. So I flipped the speed of the sunrise to make it look like a sunset. And then I again did like the New York one where I, masked the skyline out and then put the clouds on top of it. So again, it's fake, but no one saw anything.
That's very cool. That is very cool. All
It's
right, so
challenging myself, like like I said earlier, trying new things, and yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But,
yeah, no, that I think that turns out really well. So like thanks a lot for being here. And I think
well,
one
thank you.
question that I always ask to my guests is that if there is one advice that you can give to the listener who might want to try, time lapse or whatnot, what would be that one thing that they can use to focus on and either start a time lapse or get better at
There's just so many.
time lapse? I know that's why it's interesting.
It's just time lapse photography. It's so many little details and things to put together. But I would say I don't know if it's cliche, but just go out and experience.
That's
Like
awesome.
trial and failure. That's I've been talking about it in this podcast a few minutes before, but yeah, just try, go out, and yeah, you might fail at the beginning. You might come back with some bad time lapses, but yeah, you're gonna learn from this. And I feel like that's how I learned to create good content is by failing before the good content.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
for
that's what I
sure.
would say.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
Go
great
out and
advice.
shoot and have fun.
Yeah, that's it, right? Have fun. That's the one thing
It's
that's really
simple, but it makes a big difference.
yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot for being here, Emeric. And yeah, that was a lot of fun having a chat with you. So
Yeah,
uh,
thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So like, for I know you got a few projects kind of coming up. Like um maybe share with us some of the project that you have coming up, or some of the ideas that you want to shoot, and let the listener know where they can see more of your work, as well as how to get in touch with you. Especially, like I know that you have a course, so for those of you who kind of wanna learn that, I did buy a course. I haven't opened it. I haven't had the time yet, but I did buy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, let us know how to find you.
Sure. First, the projects I have right now coming up. I'm working on a big time lapse masterclass 2021. It's gonna mix. It's gonna be a little different than what I have right now because I'm traveling all around the country. I'm going to different cities. I'm actually sharing how I approach the different cities, all the problems I'm coming across, how I fix the problem, how I adapt myself and my work to where I am. And so I'm gonna have it's a masterclass gonna mix obviously education, like learning time lapses, but also traveling. And I'm gonna have motion control, astro time lapse, hyperlapse videos. It's gonna be a big, big masterclass coming hopefully before the summer 2021. I'm also working on a film festival, a time lapse film festival. I've been trying to. It's an idea I've had for like almost 2 years now, to like create like a awesome good time lapse film festival in North America because there's nothing right here. So I got the jury already. I got the guidelines. I'm working on the website. Anyway, it's gonna come very soon, by the end by next year probably. And yeah, obviously, and tons of YouTube videos coming soon. So people can find me on YouTube, Emeric's time lapse, on Instagram as well, Emeric Timelapse, and on my website, emerictimelapse.com, where I have my classes, all my online classes. If people want to purchase It helps me create more content for free and paid as well. But yeah, I'm really glad I have those classes. Yeah, can learn anything: time lapse, hyperlapse, day to night, cleaning, eller time lapse, everything you want. There's 24 hours of lessons, so you got the full day. You can watch my classes for a full day straight. Anyway, yeah, it's all online on Google as well. You can just type my name, you'll find me.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks a lot for that. I was hoping that you mentioned about that film festival because that looks really amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
Really
it's
excited to
gonna come next year. I have I don't know if you know Gunter Wegner. He's like the creator of Eller Time Lapse.
Mhm.
He's gonna be one of the jury, and
Awesome.
a few other people too. That's gonna be a. I think it's gonna be a great festival.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I saw that on your feed and stuff, and I was like, man, this looks like pretty
It's
neat.
just teasing for now because I don't have much ready, but I'm just teasing people. There's like a couple of screenshots.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming in again.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate your time and thanks for sharing your wisdom and also your knowledge on this. That was great. Especially on a really niche type of photography, I suppose. I was really hoping that you jump on board because I don't know many time lapse photographers, so I'm so glad that you did.
Yeah, my pleasure. That was nice. Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, I'm always trying to, if I don't have an excuse for it, I'm going for it. Saying yes, it can change a lot of stuff in your life.
All right. Well, Wiki Hunters, thank you very much for listening in, and hopefully you get a lot from that. And even though maybe you want to try time lapse, maybe it's not kind of your forte, but you should really give it a go because it is a lot of fun. And I started with my cell phone and my GoPro, so you don't need to actually use this crazy camera to start it. So, but as soon as I started, I was hooked. Like I just there is no looking back. So thanks a lot for being here, and tune out for next week. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you follow our channel, and you get to hear more about these passionate photographers sharing their how photography gives them hope, purpose, and happiness. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button down here, and then hit that notification bell, yeah, bell, notification bell, and you'll get notified when there is a new episode coming. All right. Well, stay safe out there and stay healthy. Hopefully, you guys have a good holiday coming up.